Hi and welcome to my cheese making demo. I took two separate videos here and clipped them together. I did lose some footage during my first attempt. So here are my ingredients laid out. I have some citric acid and some double strength rennet, which will be diluted in some water, and some kosher salt. I have a heavy bottom cheese pot. I don't need the lid. It is stainless steel, that's important. You don't want an aluminum pot. I have a gallon of skim milk and a liter of cream. So I'm only going to use 3 liters of the gallon of milk to compensate for the liter of cream that I'll use. I'm going to sprinkle over the citric acid, and I'll give that a good stir before I turn on the heat. About 30 seconds or so. I took a temperature reading before I turned on the heat, just to see what my starting point was. It was about 58 degrees. I had my milk sitting outside for a little while. And I'm going to stir that gently and constantly until I get up to 88 degrees. I'm going to dilute my rennet. I have 1/8 of a teaspoon of double strength rennet mixed into 2 tablespoons of water. And as soon as my milk comes up to 88 degrees, I'm going to pour in the rennet and stir it for about 30 seconds. I think it took about 20 minutes to get from 58 to 88. Once my rennet's added, I'm going to stir it very gently and not constantly, just occasionally, until it gets up to 104 degrees. During this point, it is going to split from just a combined milk into curds and whey. I want to stir it enough to break up the curds, but not so much that it turns the curds into really small pieces. This is footage from my second attempt where I didn't stir it quite hard enough, and now I'm removing the curds after they've sat for 10 minutes at once they reached 105 degrees. This is from the first attempt, and the curds are quite rubbery, but it turned out quite well. So I just have a colander lined with some reusable towels that are quite porous, and that's in lieu of cheesecloth. I have a bowl underneath to catch any excess whey, and I'm pressing down in between. I'll give it a good squeeze to get as much whey out as possible. I'm going to set that aside for about 10 minutes. I was just checking to see that my curd was sticking together to form one big curd mass, and I turned it out onto my work surface. While that sits resting, I will turn I've salted the remaining whey in the pot, and I'm going to bring that up to 180 degrees. While that's heating, I'm going to cut my curd mass into 1-inch cubes. Of course, give it a little taste, make sure it's all right. I want to check the curd cubes to make sure that they're not grainy looking. If they're grainy or rubbery, they're not going to pull into nice cheese. So here's on the second day. You can see in the bowl my curds. They don't look quite as nice as the first day. I couldn't get them into cubes. So I've ladled in about half of the curds and then covered them in hot whey. I'm going to give it about 15 seconds before I pull it out with my rubbered gloves. At this point it should be melted into a nice pliable mass, and you just should be able to pull it with no resistance. If it gives you some resistance, return it to the bowl with the whey and reheat it. A couple good pulls like that and you should have a nice shiny mozzarella. You don't really want it to tear. If it tears like that, you probably need to return it to the whey to reheat some more. And a good long pull. Form it into a ball. And we'll place it into some room temperature whey that we put aside when we formed the curd mass. We'll return this whey to the pot to reheat to 180 degrees. And then we'll continue on with any remaining curd.